Let's talk about what was the impact of the economic crisis over the insurance markets. It was one of the presentations that Mrs. Churel sustained today.
Yes, well, I think certainly in Romania and Central Eastern Europe, gross written premiums overall were reduced, as expected. I think particularly from the motor casco segment of the market, because it's still an optional type of insurance, and values of cars reduced, and people just didn't have money to pay for something that they didn't think they necessarily needed. So I think this is the main driving force of the reduction. I think another impact of the crisis was, certainly what we saw at CERTASIG, was an increase in fraudulent claims, people exaggerating the levels of claims. So we had to investigate claims more carefully to avoid being ripped off by sort of owners of cars that were trying to claim larger amounts than they were entitled to.
I suppose all these changes imposed a change of strategy for the insurance companies in Romania and all over Europe, and not only. So what were these changes of strategy?
Well, I think different companies have different strategies. Some companies are looking for market share, and they will continue to be very aggressive on the sort of commodity classes of business in the non-life segments. For example, motor insurance in Romania, in Bulgaria and Hungary, CEE, have very large proportions of the market, and there's a lot of cash there, clearly. And the top 10 insurers in most of those countries predominantly underwrite motor business. Other smaller companies, medium-sized companies, are sometimes looking to write the non-motor classes where they believe that there will be better profit, technical profit, and they will work with more specialized brokers and agents to achieve those goals.
Okay, now let's talk about CERTASIG. You are a main partner of this conference, and you also have a presentation in the second part of today's conference. What can you tell us about that?
Well, obviously we're very happy to be able to support this first conference in Turkey, in Istanbul, with XPRIMM and the International Underwriting Centre of Istanbul. And, well, my presentation will talk a little bit about CERTASIG, because we're known in the Romanian market, particularly in the broker market. So I will present that to the Turkish brokers especially. And then I'll focus mostly on marine business, because in fact CERTASIG is already working in the marine market in Turkey. And it's an area that we would like to grow. We've been very happy with the growth. And we note that the Turkish economy grew last year by, I think, about 7 or 8%. So the crisis in Turkey, as we heard earlier, hasn't really affected negatively Turkey at all. So we're hoping the insurance industry here will grow, and so will the business that we do on the marine market in Turkey.
So what is the major objective for CERTASIG? What is the message that you want to send to the Turkish market and not only?
Well, the main message is that we're a specialist insurance company, we're a corporate insurer. We work mainly with brokers, and that's clearly why we're here today, because it's a brokers intermediary conference, and that we want to support them, and we want them to support us, and to grow the business together.
Because we're talking about brokers and the way they do business these days. What seems to be the trend in this market?
Well, I think brokers are increasingly adding more and more value. They're helping their clients choose which insurance company to use, which product they really need. Do they need coverage? Do they have particular risks within their business models? And how to resolve those risks. Maybe not just with insurance, but sort of risk management advice, but then supplemented with insurance.
In the second part of the conference, we'll also talk about the new insurance mediation directive. What do you think that will be the changes that this directive will bring? And especially how will it affect the activity of the brokers?
Well, I think brokers will need to decide how they want to be paid. Traditionally, of course, brokers have been paid a percentage of the gross written premium, so typically anywhere between 10% and maybe 30%, depending on the market and the class of business. It seems that the trend with the IMD directive is that perhaps brokers will be rewarded just by fixed fees. Now, perhaps you could argue that earning a commission as a percentage of the premium is not necessarily the best way for the client to instruct his broker, because the more premium they pay, the more the broker is paid. So the broker needs to keep the cost effective and low. So perhaps a fee is a better way, and I think brokers need to think about how they're rewarded and how they add value.
So you think that these modifications to IMD1 are justified?
Yes, I think they're fair, and I think many brokers already are working with a fee structure. So for some brokers there will be little change. Other brokers, depending on their sort of markets and their clients, will have to think very carefully about how they work in the future.